Hi folks, let's take a look at this Flymo again and maybe we'll dig that Qualcast lawnmower out, the one that's really bad. Right, well, I did have a look at the Flymo over the weekend and let's just have a look and see how that panned out. Well, as you can see, I did manage to get the barrel off with my special Torx bolts, and as you can probably see there, inside it's looking well worn. Now this is obviously run, I think personally, without an oil mixer, and as you can see, the actual piston rings are stuck in the grooves, and I thought I'd take a chance just to try and get them out. Now this is never an easy task, but I did sort of give them a good clean up, the barrel, and although that had deep grooves in it, I thought I still could have got compression if I could have got the piston rings out. Now I didn't have no spare, so I had to try and maintain the original rings, and the best I could do was try and sand the top surface off of the pistons so that they released the rings. Well, that didn't quite work. I did snap one of the rings, and when I actually moved the crankshaft off of its actual bearing journal, when it comes sideways, all the needles fell out of the actual bearing, so that means it was game over. So that's it. That's as far as we can go with this one now. It's a shame we didn't get it running, but there again, you can't get them all going at the end of the day. So let's move on now. We'll drag that last Qualcast in and see if we can at least get that running. Right, well, here's that Qualcast lawnmower. I don't hold out much opportunity for this one. Everything looks to be stuck. All the wheels are stuck on it. They don't rotate at all. The top cover's missing, so I won't have an easy way of pull starting it, so I may have to find a way of spinning the engine, if I can spin it. I don't think it even spins, I'm not too sure. Oh, it does spin, there we go. Just about spins. So as you can see, this one's in a right old state. Anyway, let's get it on the workbench and let's sort of see what state the carburetor is going to be in, because I think the first thing's going to need to be that the carb is going to need to be looked at. So let's get it on the worktop and we'll have a closer look. So as you can see, it's really been grown in by the brambles I've actually cut up there. So I'm going to remove all these brambles now, take the air filter off, get the carb off, and let's get the carb apart, and obviously get the fuel tank off as well, because I think that's going to have rubbish fuel in it. So I'm going to put you on time lapse while I do that, so I'll see you in a minute. Right, so I've just taken off the carburetor now, and I can see we've got a gasket on this side. This is the air filter side, but on the back side, where you've got these airway channels here, or fuel channels, whatever they are, I think it's airway. I'm sure there should be a gasket on here. I'm not really too sure. I'll have to look online for a diagram. You've got an O-ring which sits around the manifold intake pipe. I can see that, and that obviously seals up the fuel there, but I'm sure that there should be some sort of gasket which sits around here, because I can't see that metal face just mating up with this metal surface on this bracket here without a form of gasket. So I'm going to have to check on that. See, someone else has probably had this apart before, so I'm not too sure. Well, I'm just going to take this carb apart now. We'll go inside and do that. I think the fuel tank's got nothing in it, nothing come out of there. I did have a quick look in there. We've obviously got the safety switch there for the cutout, which again, there's a loose terminal on there, as you can see, so I'm going to probably have to nip that up. And basically everything else is in grotty condition, which I'm not really going to touch. The magneto is full of rust there. That shouldn't really affect the spark, but I will take the spark plug out and check that. So let's get this carb inside now, and let's just take the float bowl off and see what state the inside's in. Right, I think the first thing to do then is to just undo this float bowl screw there. That looks like it's a 10mm. So we just undo that. And that's come off pretty easy. Now again, I don't know if there's any fuel in there. Well, to be honest with you, it doesn't look too bad inside there, so I'm hoping that the thing was probably run dry before it was laid up, or it broke down, so to speak. So I'm just going to go down and just remove the pin there for the float. Just remove that. Remove the float and the needle. The needle sits underneath there, as you can probably see. The seat looks okay, in pretty good condition, so I'm quite happy with that. I'll leave that, and there's no hole in the float at all, so everything appears to be fine now. Now again, we've got the what looks like to be the main jet in here, and there's also an emulsion tube, which is a tube that sticks. You probably can't see it. There's a little brass tube right in the middle there, which I think you can actually push out. So, but you need to take this jet out first, and for that you really want to get a good fitting screwdriver into the slot of the head of the jet. Now some of these have got double threads inside them. In other words, you can undo this to a certain extent, and it won't unscrew fully because it hits a little gap in the threads. And what you have to do is to push down the emulsion tube, and the way to do that is with an Allen key. I find is a good way of doing it, and just literally put it over the top of the Allen, over the jet, and just lever it down, and there we go. We managed to push it all out. With this type of carb, what you will find is that you can find these little minute holes in the sides can be blocked up, and a lot of people just go to the trouble normally of removing the actual jet and cleaning the jet out, not realising that you can actually take these tubes out. And I find the best way to clean them is with a very fine piece of wire, and I use an old guitar string, which I just happen to have here, and I tend to use the smallest one. And all I do is ensure that you run the guitar string through each little hole, and this just ensures that which they are that side. I've got two lots that side, and now yours may differ. Some of these have one hole in them, some of them have loads of holes, like this carb for example. So at least you just make sure that they're clear side. I also like to clean all the other components as well, and as you can see, by doing that there is lots of grit in there, and it loosens everything up, the carb cleaner. I also like to give the body of the carb a good clean as well with the cleaner. And I also like to give them a good blow down as well with the air gun, so I'm going to do that as well. Right, okay, there's a crude gasket made up now, so we're just going to go outside and fit the carb, put some fuel in it, just have a little bit of fettling and see if we can get this thing running. Right, well, weather's not with us today, I'm afraid. I've had to bring it inside, and while I've put it up in the counter here, I found something wedged in here. Oh, look at that. Someone's homemade spark plug wrench. Look at that, look. Unbelievable. Well, that's a new tool I've got, and it's got a handy little handle on it as well, so I'll keep that. Time to put the carb back on. As I say, I haven't done anything else to this at the moment. The O-ring's in place for the inlet manifold, and as you know, I've made that gasket up, so. And now what I need to do is to put the governor arm spring back on its perch there, which I've just done. Ease that back into position, and hopefully screw in the bolts. Now again, I'm not too sure. I haven't got one of those hole punches. What I could do with is one of those hole punches that you use for making holes in gaskets. I haven't got that. Right, okay, so this is going to go on this way. This is the tricky thing about these carbs, that as with the other Briggs & Stratton, they're nice and easy. The air filters go on top as an afterthought. You have to put that to put the base of the air filter on whilst trying to screw and guide it through the carb at the same time. Right, that's on. Put the air pipe on the back of the airbox, which was actually off. Just ensure that the governor arm moves okay, which it does. So as you can see, that's the setup there. The governor arm is moving freely, although I can see down here a cable is actually rubbing on the governor arm there, so I'll need to pull that off of there, and that's due to not having a cable clip halfway up there. So if I get a cable tie, put it up there, that should solve that problem. Now again, I'm having to take for granted that no one's messed about with this governor. I don't actually know, so as you can see, it's all operating freely. Need to nip these screws up here. So I'm just going to do that. We'll check if it's got oil in it, put some fuel in it, and then see where we go. Right, let's see what condition the spark plug's in, and also the cap. Well, that's full of corrosion in there. I'm going to need to get some cleaning stuff in there, and also the side of the plug is all corroded as well. But let's try and get it out anyway with that tool that we found. Oh, that's alright. So let's just see what sort of condition the engine was running in, if at all. Well, it looks like someone's cleaned that plug. It actually smells of cobwebs, believe it or not, so I'm not too sure what's been going in the inlet. I'll tell you what, I do get told off when I put new plugs in, of these old start, cold start sort of things, so I'm going to leave that as it is. And I find the easiest way to clean the inside of the terminals is to get a round file and literally just stick it up there and give a few turns. I've tried doing this before with sandpaper, it never really gets it good enough. This really cuts into it and gives us at least clean metal to ensure a good spark. Right, there's also loads of water in there, so I'm going to blow that out as well. And just put some water repellent spray in there as well. Right, plug back in. There we go. Plug cap back on. It feels a bit loose, so I'm going to give it a squeeze with some pliers, just to ensure that the terminals are making contact. That's better. We've got a resistance now, so a lot happier with that. As I said, a quick cable tie around this cable here, which is a speed controller, just to keep it off of the governor. Right, we may have a problem with the cable. I've had to unclip that one again. It's really buckled and it's not really travelling properly, so let's just have a look at the oil while I'm here. Again, if the oil's okay, we're going to leave it. I'm not worried about changing it at all. We're trying to do as little as we can to get this thing running, if at all possible. As I say, everything else is seized up, the wheels are all seized up on it. Well, we've got decent oil at a decent level, as you can probably see there. So I'm happy with that. Let's put that back in there. Now, as you know, we haven't got no recoil to pull, so I'm going to have to sort of do something with regards to getting the engine to turn over. Oh no, I've got some old ones over here, I think. Let's have a look. That looks similar. Right, well, it needs work on it, but let's put that down there. Could it fit? Oh, look at that, look. I do believe that that's the right type for this one. The 3 bolts are coming up through there. I think that works. Right, okay, well, let me get this off then. I'm going to put a new cord on this, and hopefully this will be alright. So let me do that now, and I'll see you in a minute. Right, that should be enough. Hopefully to start it. Well, the air filter actually looks clean, so I'm just going to plonk that back on as it is. There may be a good chance that I may have to take this off again very shortly and squirt some easy start in there, but right, okay, now I've obviously got an empty carb. Let's take it outside. I may have to give it a good few pulls just to get carb petrol through to it, but then we don't know whether we've got spark, so let's get it going, hopefully. Well, there you go. This is one I didn't think we were going to get going, to be honest with you. It was in such a state, and it just goes to show you that these lawnmowers that have been totally neglected, this has been outside for 5 years, this probably was the worst one out of the whole lot that I've actually done. And there's no chance of this one getting restored, because as you can see, the wheels are totally seized up, everything's seized up on it. But the engine sounds as sweet as anything, so with a little bit of fine tuning, I can't alter the throttle speed because the cable's seized up as well. And this is just one of the part and parcels of things that you get with old lawnmowers. Parts like the cables are the stuff that really suffers, and these are quite expensive as well to buy, so it's worth picking up old lawnmowers, and it's worth keeping the parts off them, because as you can see, there's loads of parts on here which I can salvage. There's a decent engine in there now. All it requires is a bit of a paint up. That will plump straight into another a lawnmower deck, no problem whatsoever. Even saving the things like the wheel adjusters, they look absolutely fine as well. The handle's in good condition. That will benefit from a paint up. All spares that you can save. But the biggest problem you're going to come up against is if you've got loads of different makes of lawnmower. I don't really carry spares for this type of lawnmower. I was lucky to find one of these old covers. It's not a cover we normally work on or keep or whatever. It was damaged. I had to alter the spring inside and play about with the spring on the recoil, as you saw. But yeah, totally serviceable engine we got there. And this is another one which will obviously make some money, which I'd passed over as though we'd never get this going again. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this series. The next few videos you're going to see on the lawnmowers is going to be me restoring them. Probably not this one, but I'll probably start off with the haters. Out of all the lawnmowers you've seen in this little series, the only two that we couldn't get going properly was the Flymo, which again needed new parts which I don't carry in stock. And also, that was it, I think, wasn't it? Did we get them all going apart from the Flymo? I think we did. How about that then? Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the old subscribe button and ring that little bell if you want the latest updates when I do my other videos. Anyway, thanks very much, and see you in the next video. And until then, bye for now.